Late at night, something interesting happens to the mind. The day is finally over. The noise fades. Messages stop arriving. The world slows down. Yet, instead of feeling calm, many people notice something else beginning. Thoughts about tomorrow. You might be lying in bed, staring at the ceiling. Your body is tired, but your mind suddenly becomes active. A meeting pops into your head, an unfinished task, a conversation you might need to have. None of these things are happening yet. Tomorrow hasn't even started, but your mind begins running through small scenarios anyway. What if I forget something? What if I'm not prepared? What if the day becomes overwhelming? It's strange when you think about it. Tomorrow's stress often begins the night before, not because anything has actually gone wrong, but because the mind quietly starts rehearsing the future, and this late-night mental rehearsal can shape how the entire next day feels. Some people wake up already tense, as if the day has already demanded something from them. Others wake up feeling unusually calm, even when their schedule is busy. The difference often isn't the number of tasks waiting tomorrow. It's something much smaller that happens tonight before the day even begins. And most people never realize how powerful that small moment can be. Long before tomorrow arrives, your brain is already trying to prepare for it. Not in an organized way like writing a plan, more like a quiet background process that keeps scanning for possible problems. The mind naturally dislikes uncertainty. When it doesn't know what tomorrow will look like, it begins filling in the gaps on its own. You might notice this when you suddenly remember a task you forgot earlier in the day, or when your thoughts jump between several things you need to handle the next morning. The brain is attempting to create a mental preview of the future. It tries to guess what might happen, what might go wrong, and what you might need to handle. But there's a small issue with this process. When the mind runs these predictions without any clear structure, it often focuses on the things that feel unresolved. Loose ends, unfinished tasks, things you might forget. And when these thoughts keep circling without closure, your brain interprets them as open problems that still require attention. That's when tomorrow's pressure quietly begins building tonight. Not because tomorrow is actually stressful yet, but because your mind has started treating the future like something that still needs solving. What many people don't realize is that the brain has a strong preference for things that feel finished. When a task is completed, the mind can release it. But when something remains unfinished, your brain tends to keep a small mental marker attached to it, almost like a reminder sitting quietly in the background. Throughout the day, these reminders build up. An email you meant to send, a task you postponed, something you planned to organize but didn't get around to. None of these things seem huge on their own. But when night arrives and everything becomes quiet, the brain finally has space to notice them. And that's when those mental markers start pulling your attention. Your mind isn't trying to annoy you. It's simply trying to prevent future problems. The brain evolved to protect you from forgetting important things. So it keeps unfinished tasks slightly active in memory, just in case they still matter. Psychologists sometimes describe this as the mind holding on to open loops. These loops stay active until the brain believes the task has been handled, scheduled, or safely remembered. Without that sense of closure, your mind keeps returning to the same thoughts, not because the tasks are huge, but because they still feel incomplete. And when several of these open loops exist at once, the mind can quietly carry them into the next morning, turning small unfinished thoughts into the feeling of tomorrow's stress. What's happening in those late hours is not just thinking. Your mind is organizing how tomorrow will feel. When the brain senses unfinished concerns, it prepares for the next day as if challenges are already waiting. It keeps certain thoughts active so they won't disappear overnight. That's why some mornings begin with a strange heaviness. Nothing bad has happened yet. The day hasn't even started. But the mind wakes up already holding the weight of yesterday's loose ends. On the other hand, when the brain senses that things are mentally settled, when it believes tomorrow is understood or contained, something different happens. The mind becomes quieter. It doesn't need to keep rehearsing possible problems. It can relax its watch. Sleep becomes deeper. Morning thoughts feel lighter. not because the schedule changed, but because your brain no longer feels responsible for guarding unfinished worries through the night. In other words, tomorrow's stress often isn't created by tomorrow itself. It's shaped by how the mind closes the day before it, and sometimes the smallest moment of mental closure tonight is enough to make tomorrow feel completely different.